Mr. Nikki McIntosh. What in the world did we just watch then? God, I wish I had about 8 players in that one. That was crazy.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, one of the ones I did have, Lucky Hubner, just wasn't particularly useful. But
Well,
yeah, crazy game.
how could he make a run when Kolomatangi took every play? That was wild.
Yeah,
350
this
meters or
is
something.
he obviously just saves it for round 11, round 12 every year. Was it
Yeah,
round
well, true.
12 last year? He got that 100 odd. It was just before Origin because I remember I picked him up just after he got his 100
That makes
last
sense.
year, and yeah, he just it's bad. I reckon he's in the Blues team now, though, right? After all of these injuries,
Oh,
he's got to
he'd,
be surely.
he'd have to be, wouldn't he? And apparently, yeah, we're getting all the information flowing through. Hopefully, we do get a bit while we're on here talking to you guys. But we've got a new format today. Nikki's moving from Thursday, and we're going to jump on together of a Sunday evening. Super excited for this. We got plenty to go through here. Firstly, him and his side. We'll go through the final three games of the round as well. And we got a little agenda. We'll talk through the injuries. We'll talk through Nikki's potential thoughts, early thoughts, and then you'll get a lot of my stuff throughout the week as well. But we'll go through some of the concerning scores and the players that we had early on through the weekend, and then some potential targets that are popping up as well. But mate, yeah, apparently Max King looks like he's going to make the squad. There's a bit of a sauce going around. Might be barbecue. We're not sure. We're trusting you, boys in there. But apparently Rob Toya is going to make Origin. Apparently Horsburgh is going to miss after all that. So that one hurts my soul a little bit.
Yeah. Like what are
Um,
we? I mean, it just goes to show, like what are we wasting our time on this stuff?
yeah,
Like we've got no idea what's going on. It's you try and make your plans and your predictions, and then uh, yeah, it all just blows up in your face.
honest, especially with all the injuries there, mate. We'll just roll through a
Oh,
few of them now. We just heard about Payne Haas potentially, could miss Origin. I don't know if that's going to affect us in our fantasy sides too much. If he actually, just misses out on playing Origin, maybe he plays 2 or 3 days later for Broncos. Or even if he was to
yeah.
miss that one week, it may not be too much of a factor, but that's a big one. We're going to lose Murray Talangi. We just saw that Cobo with a wrist injury. Carrigan's got a lip cut, looked pretty deep. Actually, we'll get your reaction to this one. Bradman Best. That was disgusting.
My poor boy, Bradman Best. He'd been up and down all year, and then I thought, right, finally, like, hope and Newcastle are, you know, I probably can't use the words on YouTube to describe how Newcastle are looking at the moment. Um, but yeah, his hammies flare up again. The some at least the only good thing I could say about that was they were the first game of the week. So it
Yes.
came out, a few hours beforehand. So we're able to kind of change my plans up a little bit to trade him. I ended up forced to hold on to Yo and Cleary and all the Panthers guys just because I had Best and Marju and Nicholson to clear out. But
Yeah.
yeah, if it had been a Sunday afternoon that comes out when they play on Sunday night, it would have been a bit of a disaster at that point. So the one good thing is it came out early, but yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah. And we did there, and then we have all those injuries last week. And then the outs with Panthers. So you're looking at 5 or 6 out, and then the first few games come along, and we
Yeah.
potentially lose Lucas. We then get the news today about Carraz. We lose Egan to an ACL. Potentially Riley
Yeah,
Smith. I
poor
hope he's
lad.
okay. And then Nafahu White as well, mate. It's ongoing for the relevant NRL fantasy injuries. What are your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it felt compared to last year, we'd been a bit lucky this year overall in
Mm.
terms of there hadn't been like a lot of really relevant fantasy guys going down, but the last couple of weeks has been painful. The Carraz owners, I think, like, it's after that Parramatta game, they'd have been thinking, right, Lomax is locked in on the wing. I've got Carraz, I've got him all through the whole Origin, that amazing buy schedule. He'll be an absolute gun. And then out of nowhere, no, calf injury. Or was it a calf for
Yep, for him
Carraz?
was yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, he's gone. The likes of the Fahu White, I know like a lot of people were looking at moving him on before, but again, the buy schedule planning just as well. he's going to be so useful to have through that
Yeah.
period that you're going to want to hold on, you're going to want to hold on, and then right when you need him, he falls over. So
Well,
yeah, like
I
if
just
you
bought him this week, so
well that as well, yeah. Well, my trades didn't go much better than that, so I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, it's
yeah, let's have a look while you're here, mate.
all right.
But picked up the 905 actually, a little head to head with the content league.
Mhm.
Got a little win over you in the end there with we both had Terrell as captain. What a freak,
Ah.
114. The game's just finished up, but yeah, talk us through where you ended up. Who'd you move best to in the end?
So my trades were Greg, Best, and Nicholson out to Nicholson to Hosking. I
Yep.
think that was a very popular trade. Everyone would do that.
All that,
And
yeah.
then the other two were bringing in Fletcher Sharp and Drinky. So
Oh, Jesus
they
Christ.
were
You've had a good year, mate. You've had a good
some
year.
absolutely cracking trades.
Ugh.
Yeah, like I don't know what to do. Like, 'cause the thing, right? Fletcher Sharp actually outscored Drinkwater, but that trade in annoyed me more just in terms of the frustration because I'd held off on Sharp for
Yeah.
so long because I just never like it. Once he got priced up over over 50, I just never truly believed like, is this base really sustainable? And it's like I'll pass on him, I'll pass on him, I'll pass on him, and then it keeps happening. It kept happening. So like, well, I guess it kind of is. I guess it must be real. Um, and then just with the dual position and the buy coverage, it's like it kind of fit what I needed. So
Mm.
it's like, well, I guess I have to kind of, I'll just bite the bullet. I'll go, right, I got that one wrong. I'll bring him in now. And then it was just the type of game that I've been waiting for him to have.
Yeah.
Like, because there's going to be a game where he misses more tackles, he doesn't get the attack. Newcastle are garbage. Like, it's bound to happen eventually, and then it just happens the week that I bring him in. So that was frustrating. And then Drinkwater as well. It's less frustrating to me just because I'd kind of always planned on getting him at some point, and obviously the timing sucks.
Mm.
That you've missed the big scores, and then he comes in and lays an egg like that, but you're probably going to look to get him at some point in the next few weeks, just with their coverage and how well he's been going. So it's like, okay, I've completely blown the timing, but hopefully in the long run that one it plays out. And
Yeah. No, it
both
should
both of
do.
these guys can come out next week or the week after and get a 70 or an 80, and it all is forgiven. But yeah, the timing sucks when
Yep.
you when you actually pull the plug on them.
Yeah, I think I just grabbed him in Supercoach this week. I think he just got a down date to like 14 after going
Oh.
300s in a row. And I think 300, he went up like 250K, and then I bought him in the wrong week. But that is fantasy football, isn't it? So mate, let's get
Absolutely. Yeah.
into. I've done everything up until today's game. So that Broncos one. What about that finish from Payne Haas? You would have absolutely loved that.
Oh, I was cheering, absolutely cheering. Um,
You
the
were
quad
until the
injury
last
can't
5 minutes.
the quad injury can't be too bad. The way
Oh
he was
yeah,
just bumping off everyone with about 20 points of junk in the last 60 seconds.
yeah.
Um,
That was a good
yeah, I mean,
run.
look,
That line break.
yeah, and then immediately again he gets it back, and I don't know if he made many yards, but bumped off a couple of tackle
Yeah.
breaks. I mean, the guy's an absolute freak. Um, uh, I'm glad the next couple of weeks he's like, regardless of injury, he's not playing next week. I don't have to death watch him.
Come on, Nikki. You're
But
gonna make some ranks this week. Come on. Oh goodness. Well, Ezra Mam comes back. He played some really good footy. So kudos to him for being able to come back and do that. Yeah, whatever we think about him coming back after 9 rounds, he came out and he was a difference maker, wasn't he, for this side? They
yeah,
need
like
they
this
needed
is
him and they still lost.
yeah, this is the type of game, and this is the type of thing where you watch and like, is this going to be a trap game for people now?
Oh yeah.
When and it's like, oh wow, look, I mean, he looked amazing. Um, and 66 average, oh well, 66 average, 66 score, 450K. Let's all jump on, and then he's back to 20 next week and a 25 the week after. Um,
Yeah, that's him.
but yeah, I mean, six missed tackles. They're 14 in negatives and still got the 66. That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty wild. Paddy Carrigan, massive minutes again, 71 for him with Haas going a little bit less. Not sure when he picked up the quad injury. Maybe, that's why they went a little bit lower, but
So it looked like so when for that Gutho try, Haas like Gutho kind of dragged him over the line and he got up limping. You could see in the background when they were taking the
okay.
kick that he was
That'll
kind
make
of
sense.
limping around. So that was only about 5 minutes left.
And they still had
Um,
that run. That's
well,
crazy.
that's what I'm saying. It's like that
Mm.
that seems like when the injury happened, but clearly he couldn't be too hampered with
Yeah.
the runs he came off with afterwards. But yeah, that
Wow.
I did look at that and was like, oh, okay, this might mean he might, not that he was necessarily injured, but this should lock him down maybe for the last few minutes. And yeah, not to be.
Yeah, definitely. And but guys, relevant players in this one. We had obviously had Paddy with 65. If you're owning him, happy days. Val looks like he's going to sneak on the wing potentially with Rob Toyer in the centres, which is interesting. Of course, for those that held on. But Shibasaki, he looked really good in this game as well for 59. And Hamish Stewart's probably the big one here, mate. 51, played 61 minutes in the end with extra time available with our poor boy Dylan Egan going down. Now with Couchman out as well. He was a potential option this week, but not playing next week. Is he a mid that we can target for round 13?
If he's going to keep up these minutes, absolutely. I mean, he does probably doesn't even need 60 minutes, to be worthwhile. It's just so hard to judge, isn't it? I mean, like the Bellin only playing 40 minutes is weird.
Yes,
When,
well too.
yeah, well, yeah, with Egan going down, Couchman will be back soon.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like the judging the minutes with these sort of teams has been an absolute disaster for me over most of the year.
Yeah.
And these ones, especially when he's gone so well. If you've had him, if you've had him for the last few, last few weeks, they're absolutely flying. He's getting to that period where, his price he's going to go up. I'm not sure what his break even was this week. I'm sure he's going to be up quite a bit this week, probably up over the 500 mark. Um, the other thing as well with the next few weeks being the origin weeks and the mini bye weeks, we're going to be stacked in a lot of positions.
Yes.
So if you think of like round 13, we're going to have a lot of mid. Well, maybe not with the amount of injuries that we've had, but theoretically, we're going to have a lot of mids in there. So is
Mm.
Hamish Stewart someone that you would play ahead of, if you've got Haas and May and Tapine and, whoever else, whatever guys that we've got in there, it might be the one where it just doesn't fit for a lot of the rounds. Because I think that's maybe where people are going to be caught out a little bit this week. But I was thinking about, trades for next week, and you don't want to be in a position where you're like overstacked in some positions. So you've got guys you really want to play on the bench, but you're a bit weak in like wing fullback or something. So that might kind of dictate who you're looking to target.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he's one of those guys that you would fit well for round 15, but by the time he got to round 15, he'd be too expensive. So probably one that we do have to just leave. And he did have, I think it was, the offload line, reg assist, try assist as well. So without that, he's like a high 30s for in 61 minutes, which isn't super ideal. But he obviously got a few extra minutes, it looks like, and then Cook played basically the whole game, and Little got 52, which they should be playing them together anyway, but they don't seem to, apart from that Egan injury there. In terms of the rest of the players on this side, not much of relevance apart from Sel and Cobbo. For anyone who is with him, did play the full game, but spent a lot of time out in the wing, which I think he did a little bit last game as well. And then it's for Cobbo, I now think that with Walsh on the way back, he'll be a sell for you. And
Yeah,
then
I
King,
think they mentioned he picked up an injury, which is why they moved him out to the wing,
yeah,
like an arm
wrist
injury, a hand
one,
injury, or
very good,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Piakura, 13 in 50 minutes. He's the trap of
that
the century, wouldn't
that's the Fiakura we know and love.
he?
That's more like it.
Wasn't even many missed
Um,
tackles. One.
yeah,
And then King Tonga was the 18 there, and that included a try assist. So, and actually got good kick meters this week. So very rough one. Kind of feels like just a straight up cash out now, with a small gain. And look, he's probably going to stay in our sides for a long time, isn't he? Did you end up grabbing him a few weeks ago?
yeah. I got him a couple of weeks ago when he
Yeah.
was basement. And yeah, he. I almost had to play him this week, but ended up. Well, I played Hubner instead. I looped Hubner in instead, so it didn't give me a whole lot extra. But yeah, it was we're dragging the, the ends of the bench to get a team out this week.
Ugh, and we'll probably be the same this week. But let's just head back to those injuries. So it does
Mhm.
sound like White is out for 3 weeks, at least with an MCL injury. So I'm gonna have to sell him. Riley, hopefully it was just cramping, but we'll find out more. Egan will have to sell. Karaz looks like about a month, which yeah, seems like a sell as well, with with buys following. Lucas, hopefully it's a 0 week injury. That would be ideal. But look, even if it's
Mhm.
a 1 week thing, they give it a bit of a rest. Even two, he's probably a hold in your book.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, mostly just with the other options. I hate the ones where it comes out, the 0 to 3 weeks. It was like Cleary last year, the
Oh God, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, he
yeah,
might be
oh,
back.
yeah, maybe next week, maybe next week. Hold on.
He's ahead of
Um,
schedule.
but yeah, unless it comes out that it's something more serious, then yeah, I think we hold on.
Yeah, mate. Tell me how excited you were about the Latrell length of the field run that got pulled back. Tell us how that made you feel.
Oh, that was, yeah, yeah. It's a weird quirk of the rules, isn't it? Somehow, because he got tackled and then he tried to get back up and got bundled into touch. And because he was in touch, they could challenge.
So,
But if he'd just been
yeah.
tackled and stayed in play, then they wouldn't be able to challenge. So they could have just played on
Oh,
and, that's it. The thing's gone. It's a strange way
that's gross.
strange way the rules work with some of this stuff. But yeah, at least he didn't score. That was the upside
Yeah,
of
true.
it being pulled back. It was still it would have still been a pretty heavily, was it 80, yeah, 80 meters and a few tackle breaks. But yeah, at least he didn't have the try taken off him. That might have ended me, but
Or an injury early or
we're
something.
still here. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that would have
love one of them. Yeah, it was a big day of scores, wasn't it? Look at this one here. It's 50s, 60s, and 70s galore, and turns out it wasn't really the majority of our players. It was, Smithies up there. He just crushed it all game. Played
wow, yeah.
64 minutes. Hudson Young again. He's just, why didn't they take him off? He was cramping for days. Like, you were ahead by what at the time? Three
Mm.
tries. Like, you got people on
And
the bench, dude. But I suppose he's
yeah,
he's
they
fighting for
gave
a New South Wales
Hosking
spot.
they gave Hosking 10 minutes
Yeah.
rest
Well,
instead.
you can tell where my allegiance lied uh, with Hosking clearly. And Xavier Savage hit a
Mm.
really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and KO so I thought they were very impressive. And for the Titans boys, Mo Fotuaika's come out of the clouds, hasn't he? The last 3 weeks, he's been very, very poor. And
Mm.
then you can see there that 45 average across the season. He's been 50s and 60s the last few, and looks like he's earned an Origin spot there. And Tino's just been dominant. What are your thoughts on
Mm.
Tino, mate? Well, I suppose it's a long way away, but he probably fits into our best 4 or 5 mids there.
It's just
So
the mids
many.
are so stacked. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what is the top 4 or 5 mids? Because I mean, you've got Haas and May way ahead. But then you've got that kind of tier of the Tapanese, Vanua Blakes, Tino. Um, I'm sure I'm missing some more. I mean, Horsburgh is probably a slight. Well, I mean, is he a slight level under?
Well, it's like
Probably slightly,
Yo's
but
like
yeah. Oh, sorry,
third
I forgot
best.
you. Yeah,
And
yeah, I
then
forgot
Tarpanay
you.
probably
So there's
Tarpanay for they're tied at the moment, 60,
mm,
like 61 average. So yeah, there's
yeah.
so many good guys, and
Mhm.
he kind of got a bit of a rest, I reckon, in this game. Taps, considering we thought he might have to play more minutes next week, but I suppose he's gone pretty big the last few, hasn't he? So slightly annoying if you bought him, but it felt like a very easy 57, right?
Yeah, yeah. I got him last week or the week before, probably last week. So
Yeah, I was
yeah,
last week too.
yeah, he's in that really easy watch category where you just the points just rack up while he's on the field, and yeah, you just hope for the games where he's up over 60 minutes and it's pretty much guaranteed 65, 70.
Yeah, another one of those guys looking for an offload, and seems like the attack is close. It's always around the corner each and every game. It could happen, and we've seen it probably on average every second game. So definitely has that massive upside for next week again. And then Corey Horsburgh, if he actually doesn't make the Origin side, is he a potential buy in your books?
Um, I don't know if he's a buy just because those minutes have never they've been pretty static around that mid 50s minutes and being priced at 54. Again, there's so many other options that I don't know if he's like that upper tier of mids. He's been really solid. But yeah, I think he's kind of peaked, and you'd probably want to go to a Tapine or the likes if you didn't have them rather than a Horsburgh. But I mean, you'd still be good, but maybe that's slightly under that top tier of mids.
Yeah, he
And
might
being
be.
700k is it's a bit expensive to me, I think, to buy him at this stage.
Yeah, well, if King's in Origin, then we've got Clark in there, or you could put him in hooker. So we've got Clark 1 and 2 with taps, and then AFB top three. Or
Yeah,
McInnes and Horsburgh in
McInnes.
a similar sort of 4-5 maybe. So yeah, he's not essential,
Hmm.
but he definitely do a job. And I suppose the worry would be if they do get a few injuries, does he come back in for that? He would play
Yeah.
round 18, but could he miss that as well? So yeah, it's no slam dunk, hey, but
Hmm.
a solid one. And then Starling got the full 80 in this one, surprisingly as well. So, and that beautiful grubber
Hmm.
for 55. So if you're holding on to him, if you still got him, I think stick on and hold. Hosking got the 53. Most people bought, I think, 770 or something of the top 1,000. Grabbed him this week.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
He was my number one buy this week, just at that price.
You
And we know
had to,
what he
didn't
can
you?
do scoring wise. You pretty much had to get on.
And then Fogarty with
And
a
then this seemed a pretty basic performance as well, like 53 and 70 minutes. No real attack other than the try, and it wasn't a particularly high scoring try. So yeah, he can score better than this, even if he's getting a little rest at the end of the day. Yeah, the tackles are he just loves the tackle.
Yeah, didn't even have to make a lot because they put almost 40 on by the time he went off. So yeah, he'll be sweet. I'm glad he can get injured. Those legs tackles they're a thing of beauty, aren't they? But Fogarty with the 51 here, just stock standard again. He did have 3 penalties and 3 missed tackles though, so that just shirked his ability to go to the mid to high 50s. But yeah, well, he was the low of the three this week. Isaiah Katoa come out with a massive one. Where do you sit on him if you like? Are you in a position where you need a half, or you pretty certain?
Well, that was kind of one of the reasons I got sharp was to cover the halves for round 12. And then so I've got Hines. I got Hines a few weeks ago. It should have been Katoa. There was a big discussion point a few weeks ago. Hines or Fogarty, Hines or Fogarty. Clearly, Katoa was
Yeah.
the right option. Um, but again, it's thinking about round 13, especially if you're holding Cleary. So if you've got a Hines, so I've got like Hines and Savala, and I brought in Sharp, and I'm holding Cleary. So for round 13, if you've got Hines and Cleary, like what do you do with a Katoa or a Fogarty or whoever, the other half? It's just being stacked in that one position again.
Hines is out round 13, so
Oh, so he is, yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
But
So if you've got Fogart,
Qatar is as well, so Fogarty helps for that one.
oh, yes. Okay, yeah, no, I was completely getting off track on my round 13 planning.
Right.
Um, so yeah, okay. In that case, yeah, we need some fun. We might need those gun halves for round 13 if Katoa and Hines are both out.
Well, that's where, yeah, those that do have Fogarty, it helps out. I was doing
Mm,
my planning. I think even with Hines, I was looking okay. Maybe like Sharp came up and helped in half
mm,
for me or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll work it out. But that's gonna be a massive video for us next week, following round 12, as then
Mm,
sorting out round 13 and structuring that. And
mm,
there's gonna be big buys like Colin Matangi and Aitken and these kind of players that we just saw this evening. But Jaden Campbell, I think not owning, we kind of got away with it in that
mm.
second half. He seemed to gain a few points and then lose a few. So, did you are you still of the same mind that he seems like a really, really good buy when the opportunity comes?
Yeah, he was kind of in my thoughts with Drinky to get one of those because I was kind of settled for was I had 13 for round 12 and I need to make another trade anyway with Best. I'll chase some points and get one of those long term targets. So it's between kind of Drinky and Campbell. I wanted to see how it played out with Foreign and what they would do,
Mm.
and would Foreign come in and also coming back off that injury, maybe just give him another week and then target round 13. And the price also kind of played a little bit of a factor into it because I was selling best instead of Yo. I didn't have
Okay.
as much money in the bank.
Yeah.
So I wanted to keep I could have afforded Campbell, but it would have been a bit closer and just wanted to leave a little bit of money for next week for just some flexibility, depending on what happened, which might come in very handy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of why I ended up going on the drinky side, but Campbell was definitely an option and would have been a better option, but didn't shoot the lights out, obviously.
Yeah. And I suppose he does have that extra buy in that period that the Drinky doesn't have. So I
Mm.
understand the thinking. But we had 45 apiece from Fermor and Tamale. And given the price points, it's a bit of a win for Savelio, who was absolutely shocking under the high ball, but man, he can run the footy. A try, a couple of line breaks in there as well. They are passing it left a little bit more, which is great. And if you have Tamale, maybe we just maybe you didn't cop too many injuries. Are you still sick and solid with him for round 12, or is he someone you could upgrade to like a Tedesco or something?
Yeah, you could look at it. I'm not I do have him and I'm not in a hurry to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So if you are lucky enough that you've got this kind of these luxury upgrades,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
you can do it. But I think he's somebody that you can probably, especially with the dual position, it's something I haven't fully kind of looked into yet. But if you are able to get more than 13 for next week and to be able to loop, that could be a real advantage for these guys like the Tamales and Jenkins of the world, where they don't necessarily want to rely on them, but they can give you that big score if it comes off for them. So yeah, like I wouldn't be desperate to upgrade him. I think there's other options that you can move on first. But yeah, if your team's flying and you haven't run into any problems this year, you could look at it.
Yeah. Fermor's gonna be an interesting one that, a couple of 40s in a row there. If he makes Origin, is he someone that you just hold given his upside potential and the dual position?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Hmm.
If you yeah again if you don't have major other problems, but yeah, if you made Origin, I would look to hold him.
Especially if he's bench or something like that, he wouldn't play a
Mm,
lot of minutes. Mate, I
mm.
was kicking myself selling Brimson last week for him to have that ridiculous line break and try assist, and then he fell off the map for the rest of it, and he was back to normal AJ. So that made me feel a little bit better. But man, he's electric at fullback, and he just needs a
Yeah,
good team.
I sold him a couple of weeks ago, I think just before you did.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I had the same reaction of why didn't they do this, a few weeks ago, right? Move
Oh,
him
he's
the
so
field
good.
back and help out a bit. But yeah, it's thankfully he went back and went back and was quiet for the rest of the game.
Yeah. All right, to finish off with the
Mm.
Bunnies and the Tigers. So this one a little bit less relevant for round 12, but some relevance for round 13 there, especially with Kolomatangi. And yeah, we will find out the Blues side probably by the time that this video comes out tonight. But an 87 for him, ran for 329 meters. He had like 30 runs, 2 runs a set, even after he played like 65 minutes. It was actually, to be honest, this was more impressive than what May did in this game because we've kind of expected this from May and ran a little bit less. Like we know that it can be a lot more fatiguing, especially like I think it was the post contact meters that did it for me. Like in his 26th, 27th run, just still like they couldn't get him down. So that was wild. And if he keeps his, yeah, surely they take away his edge license. He's a middle, like he's like double the player in the middle, isn't he?
I mean, yeah, I was the same, exact same last year as well, wasn't it? As soon
Yeah.
as he moved to the middle, he just went from you can look at this guy, he's okay, to an absolute beast.
Mm,
I saw a few people jump on him. I think Mitch and Matty T both got him in when I was having a look at
yeah.
their scores. So
Congrats, boys. We'll hear from them
yeah,
tomorrow night, which
well
will be
done,
good.
well done.
And then Aiken as well, mate. 70. Do you have both of them on your radar?
Yeah, Aitken,
He's so
he
good.
still thinking he gets that center duel. Like, did he play enough at center to get the next upgrade? Because if it does mean like if Lucas ends up being a longer term thing and Aitken gets center at some point, then like he's basically um the same type of output for a much cheaper price. But yeah, he's if he sticks that 80-minute edge roll, then yeah, we need to kind of get him before he gets too expensive because he'll his price will go up very quickly. Same with Kolo now.
Mm. Well, he becomes a
Um,
little bit more important to me given Egan would have been around 15 edge for me,
mm,
and having Hosking now, so those two are out. So we will have to fill that in some way.
mm,
And yes, holding couch would be cool, but he'll be a middle. So yeah, Aiken
mm,
not going to make Origin, so he feels very important. It'll be a tick over 600k. So that's yeah, one to put in the black book for round 13. But double tons, we had Coruscant 102. I thought May was 114 for a sec, but 109
mm.
for his best score ever, I believe. I think he just beat his last one. I think did he get a ton last year or close to it? But absolute freak. 63 tackles for no misses and 200,
What the hell?
199 run meters.
Give him one
Boring.
more. Find him one
Boring.
more. Find him one more.
Well, yeah, he probably will in updates. But Coruscant was absolutely electric in this game, and they still couldn't get the win. So shout out to the Bunnies and their fans. Chris Cook's in there telling me that yeah, the refs were completely biased, but yeah, it was an incredible win. So good on you, Chrissy. Enjoy it. They just getting the job done at the moment. Well, this year, aren't they, Bunnies? Like we thought that they
Mm.
would be nowhere near it, and I think they're firmly entrenched in the top eight now, probably after that win. Just very, very
Yeah.
impressive. And who else we got here? Safe Fast, 56 again, just keeps doing it. He's almost up to that 49 average we are talking about in the
Mm.
preseason, eh?
He should have had more faith. Should have held on. Should have held
Oh,
on and keep him.
Alex.
I mean, he's just a grinder, isn't he? And
Oh,
that's the thing with those guys that sometimes it won't, sometimes you don't get the results fantasy wise, but yeah, 50 tackles. Still
yeah,
not running the ball all that much, but
no,
yeah.
definitely not. Latrell, your boy 51, mate. What's your thoughts on him? Are you looking to hold?
Well, at this stage, probably.
Now.
So I don't have the like the Haas question, but I had, so I've got him, Cleary, and Yo as my kind of big money origin
Yeah,
guys.
okay, it's not too many.
Yeah. And like I would have traded Yo last week if it wasn't for all the injuries. They depending on what it looks like this week, if we have if we have more injuries to trade, you might as well hold these guys.
Yeah.
I think Latrell should back up quite well as well, playing in the centers.
Yep.
Um, so he'd probably want to at least keep for the next little while. But if I'm keeping, I mean, the general thoughts will be if I can hold Yo, him, and Cleary through next week, of them 13, 14, then Yo and Cleary are probably more, well, Yo especially is still probably a trade come 15.
Hmm.
And just means that probably makes it easy enough for me to hold Latrell through and hopefully be a bit of a pod because I
Yeah.
need these. I need these big upside guys if I'm going to ever make anything remotely looking like a comeback. So having
Mm.
somebody like Latrell who isn't very heavily owned, who can pop off with 100 of his own on any given day.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I agree
he's
with
he's
that.
useful to have through.
Yeah, just hopefully he gets through unscathed. Hubner I've been mentioning is a guy that you could move on, but yeah, with all the injuries, it does make it tough, and it might be a similar situation this week, right? Like
Yeah,
he may
exactly. Yeah.
last a little bit
Mhm.
longer.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he was yeah, definitely on the list of upgrades, but just couldn't do it because I had too many injured players. But
Mm.
yeah, I think he's definitely one to look to move. I'd move him ahead of the likes of Tamale that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And then Stafford was the last one here. He ended up getting taken off. They had Hayden on the bench, so brought him on. Stafford was coming back from a neck injury, so that's that. And he's still in my team. He's somehow lasted, and he'll eventually
Mhm.
be moved on. The big fellow, he runs a good footy, but he's very strong. But yeah, he's at that peak price. Now, mate, the concerning
Concern.
scores this
Mhm.
week. We spoke about Drinky there. He's still going to be a potential buy there, so hold on. Jackson Purdue, mate, it obviously clearly wasn't the Cowboys game. Some people are looking to potentially sell with the buy up here. Would you still look to hold with him in the halves? It looks like they are going to continue on with him there.
Yeah, it's tough without really knowing a lot about. I think I heard that his reserve half stats were quite good. I haven't looked it up myself, but without kind of knowing how he's going to go, it makes it a bit harder to judge because we just don't. I mean, he doesn't look like he kicks the ball that much. He could be a threat. This is my thing with like Fletcher Sharp. It's kind of like, well, is he going to be much different to Sharp in terms of his kind of play style? Like his
Yeah.
maybe doesn't tackle as much or as well, but you'd think he still runs the ball a lot. He's so quick that he's going to get the tackle breaks and line breaks and stuff if he does run the ball. But it wasn't a promising start.
Mm.
So I think if you want to give him a like because he could come out and settle into the role and be really productive. But I guess it's do you want to take that risk of holding on for a few weeks and maybe getting another couple of low ones before making that
Mm.
making that call?
Yeah. It does feel like to me that you do hold and give it a chance. Now, a couple that I own personally, Yongi and Savala played Yongi for a delightful 23 this week in they put 30 points on, so that sucked. Again, if you weren't struck with injuries like I am, probably can't sell him now, but would you upgrade him? And similar with Savala, would you look to upgrade him or just have to stick and play him this week?
I think I'd rather stick with Savala than Nyongi.
Okay.
And I'd have Nyongi again. I'd upgrade him before Tamale, and that if we had the list of people that would look to move on. I mean, like, he's a young, talented fullback, and he's going to have games where he looks really good and will score decently. So he's had a couple of them in the last month or so
Yeah.
since Moses came back. But he'll always have these games in him, I think, just the way that the Eels are going. And again, he's a young guy, kind of still finding his way in the top grade. So yeah, I think he's one that I would be happy to look to upgrade. Savala. It seems. I mean, I think this is more his base generally should be higher than Yongi's. So, although
Yeah.
Sandin did kick quite a bit this week, I
Mm.
think more than maybe normal. Um. So yeah, to me, Savala hold Yongi. I'd look to upgrade if you had the luxury
If you
to
can.
be able to do that.
Yeah, like I've got the cash, but I have some injuries, so it's like, what can we do? All right, Nicara 32. He's just not doing it. Hey, like, he's still of the same thing. Like, hold if you bought him, but if you didn't, just avoid. Like, he's just not doing it. Hey.
Yeah, it's hard with these ones because these are the type of guys that they'll be up and down. They'll have like he could come out next week and score an 80 easily.
Mm.
And then you get annoyed. Oh well, and then you try and jump on at people, try and jump on afterwards. So it's one of those. If you want to take a gamble, you can do it, but you have to kind of know that it is a gamble. That yeah, he might give you a few low ones in a row. But if you get on him when he has one of his upswings and he gives you a 70 and then into an 80, then you're laughing, and then everybody else starts to, well, should I be jumping on? Should I be jumping on? So, like I won't be looking at him, but I can see the upside if you want to take a gamble.
Yeah.
He's getting a bit cheaper now, isn't he? What's his?
Yeah, he had like a decent score last week with that try, but
Mm,
he just hasn't gone like anywhere past the sort of 50 odd, which last year when he was scoring tries and that when he was doing really well, it was 70s and then he'd go 50 odd in base and then he'd score a try and get 70. Like it just isn't looking that way, unfortunately. And then we got Pappenhausen as
yeah.
well with a 22. So
Mm,
following the 100, just a
yeah.
not much of a game from him. So yeah, stick strong
Mm,
on that one. But mate, we do have the Blues team for round one, so we'll get into that now. So here it is. We have our Blues team. It's pretty stock standard, so a little bit boring, I'd say, for content there. But yeah, we see the back seven pretty well exactly what we thought it would be in the end. There was a little bit of Lomax or Carraz or Turbo. Turbo's busted there. Barnett always looked like that. He was going to be making that side. Robson's there. Haas with the quad issue. We'll see how that one plays out. But look, actually, if he doesn't make the side, do we see Stefano in the team? It's an interesting one, isn't it? That if Haas isn't good to go, what do you think there?
yeah, it probably has to be
Yeah.
right. I mean, they've got yeah, Len Yu King on the bench. Yeah, you'd think Stefano probably comes onto the bench and
Mm.
Leniu starts, or I mean, I know they like him coming off the bench, but yeah,
Where Stefano would probably, yeah, kick it off. But yeah, then Lee Martin and Crichton in the back row, which was expected there, but no Colin He's probably the big one after that massive effort. Do you reckon he already had the side picked before that game?
I've wondered that in like previous years that because it's in the lead up to that last game and the commentators were talking about, oh, will this make a difference? And like, are they really sitting? They're going to announce this at right like about 9 o'clock. Are they really sitting at 6 o'clock going, I don't know who I'm going to pick. I'm going to
No,
wait to see this last game and then that's going to make my decision for me. Yeah, I think this was in place beforehand.
it's probably
Uh,
just
uh
injuries, hey.
yeah, yeah, and
Max King's
that's the thing.
yeah. Max King's a big one here for fantasy there in this side. He does make the bench, which is really exciting for him. Congrats on his what's going to be his debut and for all the hard work that he does leading that dogs pack. I think is where he comes into it. It has that bit of grunt up front. So yeah, congrats to him for that one. But for fantasy owners in the bin on that one apparently because that means 12 and 13 he misses. And then, if he keeps his spot, it's a lot of games out of that side. Hey, would you look to sell if you had Max King now?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think there's
Yeah,
any real decision otherwise there. There's too many games. Same with the Roosters, guys. Years you've held on to the Watson, this far on hoping that he maybe doesn't get picked. Then yeah, they've got to go.
yep, yeah, he'll be that 14. And then guys like Haas and Cleary we've got as firm holds right now. And if you're looking at guys like Dylan Edwards, then he'd be a sell there. Looks like he's kind of on and off with injury and stuff, and he's still being picked. So if he's fit, I think he'll be there for game two and onwards. And it looks like Teddy is done, and that means that he's a fairly clear buy option if you need a wing fullback. If you've got Carraz, you want to make a change there as well. But looking into potentially gun targets here coming into round 12, mate. I've got a few different ones. We've still got Katoa, Fogarty, and Hines there probably just as we mentioned before with the round 13 buys, just seeing what fits you. If you do need someone that's definitely going to play 13, then Fogarty's just the automatic pick. Yeah, if you have the opportunity to upgrade Savala or you don't want to play him or something like that, then you could go for the two of these guys as well. Mate, with all that Aaron Clark debate weeks ago, Barnett out, Fish might be missing a week too. Even at this price point, if you still don't
Yeah.
have Clark, could you buy him this week?
The the problem he has now is that he doesn't play 15 or 18,
Yep.
which makes it difficult, especially if you need if you're buying him as like a hooker, and then he is likely going to be our hooker for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It still leaves you open for those 2 rounds. You're probably going to have another plan for them. But yeah, I mean, if he keeps playing 65 to 70 minutes, he's going to keep racking up these scores. And yeah,
Yeah.
even though he's expensive now, if that's just what his role is now, then yeah, you're probably again he's at the stage I think definitely now where you're probably not going to get a ton of value out of him, but
Yeah.
he'll you know he'll get what you pay for. But yeah, not playing those either of if you played one of those two buy rounds, it'd be helpful. But him and Riley Smith both missing them is a real pain that
Yeah.
we'll have to worry about in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's right. I'd keep putting that on the back burner, but even just thinking of like 16 and 19, him just plug straight in that hooker spot
Yeah.
is very valuable. Now, centers and wing fullbacks because we have a few issues now with Carraz definitely being out and a few of those guys struggling a little bit. For the centers, we got Herbie, Iro, and then Garrett can go up or down. If you're looking at one of those guys, even at the expensive price, would you still go for Herbie, or is there a world where you pick a Garrick or potentially Eero in between there?
I think the reason you would go for a Garrick is if you just wanted that dual position and you wanted to help, just have that coverage. And that could be something that comes without having had as we get into 15 and 18 and the other ones, having that dual, because he covers Manly play every buy round, right? Every
Mm,
major buy round. So
yeah,
just having that opportunity to move people up and down can be really valuable. But in terms of scoring, yeah, like Herbie. just I watched that game in the pub with my mate, who's a kind of a newfound Dolphins fan since they came into
Ah,
the
okay.
league, and it was like I'll support the Dolphins, that's fine, but as long as he does nothing, I'm all good. And then, he's just throwing offloads here and there, and he just can't tackle the guy. He's a frustrating watch if you don't own him. Certainly, he's not quite at the Haas level, but he's up there. And then Euro, you think at some point he's got to stop scoring.
Yeah, yeah.
He must have a game without a try at some point. Herbie, I'd have more, I'm more confident in getting these big scores without the tries. Euro, slightly level below, I would say. And then Garrick is, again, I'd have him a level below in terms of just scoring output, but at the cheaper price and with that dual position can just be really helpful as we go through the other buy rounds and having more injuries, just being able to move people. Because I've got Tamale and, Marky Mark at the moment. And just being able to, as people fall down, just being able to switch them up and down between center and wing fullback is really handy. So, um, yeah, it just depends, I guess, exactly what you're looking for when you want to bring them in.
Yeah, because the Garrick one's interesting. Like their run becomes a lot nicer. Like it's Parramatta, Brisbane, Newcastle, and Titans. So that's where he could be a fun one. But then it's two buys in fairly quick succession. But having 15 and 18 eligibility is really nice for sure. And
Yeah.
we had
My thoughts,
Cowboys.
yeah,
Yeah.
my thoughts a couple of weeks ago were, it's like, well, instead of Garrick, with that buy round, we can all just jump on Turbo instead. But wow, that was some score from him
Tubo?
this week.
Tubo or Turbo?
Turbo. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Straight over the head, that one.
Straight over the head. It was
I
like
think
it's
it's
sometimes,
two.
it's the accent. It's like, am I just not making sense sometimes? It's and with our burbos and gerbos and turbos and turbos.
No,
Uh
I'm saying because he
yeah.
got 2 points, you
Yeah,
silly
yeah.
duffer.
Yeah. I got you. I got you as soon as you clarified it. So
Yeah, yeah.
but
Oh,
but yeah,
eventually.
he could be under 200K. That'd be special. Under 400K pretty soon, which is just crazy. Um, that's at some point you're going to have to get him, right? Just he's going to be so cheap. He's in that Ponga and Walsh territory where at some point they're going to score well.
Hmm.
Surely you would think. Um,
He
and
seems to get fit. He'll be fine, but
yeah,
he's also just not a great fantasy scorer. Like he's a super coach guy through and through.
yeah.
Turbo,
But if
apart
you
from that 1 year, and
that
even
one
last year,
year
like he was
was
super fit, and he got what average 50 or something. Like,
yeah. But when he gets to 400K,
yeah, that doesn't
that's
matter.
that's pretty good.
We just need a fit Turbo then.
Yeah.
And then Teddy, mate, wing fullback, easy replacement for Carraz, or would you go for one of these other guys?
I think Teddy's probably. I don't have Karaz, but will likely be top of my target list this week. That was always kind of the plan. Hope he doesn't make wait and see, and then if he doesn't get Origin, then get him in. So yeah, lock down the wing fullback position, all three buy rounds. Yeah, I think he'll be the number one of the top trade-ins this week, I'd imagine, and Karaz to Teddy seems a fairly straightforward move.
Agreed. We kind of mentioned the mids, so they're all
Mm.
of an option for you. You've got AFB and McInnes missing 13, but playing 15 onwards, which taps plays 13, misses 15. So work out what fits you best. But I imagine most people have taps and AFB coming off that really big score. It's a good little time to potentially buy. Although we know these guys, they have the big minute game, and then they can somehow, the next week they go to the lower minute one. So that'll be interesting. But mate, I wanted to get a quick thought
Mm.
on Kaipi's Paul. He was their best player on the weekend. Had the sin bin, should have got 70 plus. Is he? He got the 45 the week before, but that just seemed like a bit his floor, I'd say. Where you at with him?
Yeah, I was looking last week. I think I went through it quickly, like on the video. And if you needed an edge this week, and some of us might now, if you were playing Lucas on your edge, and he's going to miss, there's not a lot of top edges that are playing this week.
No,
most
not
of them are, like a lot of them are, Hudson Young obviously away, and I can't remember the list. I have it.
it's like
Um,
Wong and these guys that are just like okay.
yeah, that was it. The actual like the top scoring edges for the season are I do have it open. So Young is away, Lucas injured, Preston suspended, Couchman injured and has a bye, Nicholson injured, Bermore's on a bye, Egan injured and on a bye.
That's wild.
Uh, and then you're into Thomas Can and KPP at that point. Um,
Yeah,
so like he's literally like
best.
the best one available, which is
Mm,
kind of like, and that was the thing that kind of surprised me as I was going through it. It's just there isn't really a lot of real gun options because you get below that into Kickow, who's going
mm.
well. Like he starts to become an option because of kind of the lack of other ones, and then you're into Wong and White, Barnett and Crichton both away. Matangi on the bye, Olakawatu. And then you're down to Hosking. So like Hosking stood out as the top option, because of his price. But yeah, KPP is the top scoring edge available this week.
Yeah,
So
they're probably the two. Him and
mm,
Hosking.
yeah,
If you need to go that way, which
yeah.
some might,
And
but yeah,
A
yeah,
Lucas to
Lucas and
KPP sideways if you need to trade him,
yeah, we'll
seems
see
to
then.
work. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
we
have a
could,
bit of I did have a bit of a worry about loading up on so many Newcastle guys. I've joked about this, I think, a few times that how can a team that's so bad have so many fantasy relevant
yeah.
players in it that you could have easily had like 5, 6 nights at some point.
I was talking.
Um,
I was talking to my partner about it. She's like, "Why are you picking so many Knights players?" And I was like, "Oh, they've got like six guys that average over 50. It's wild. Like, and they suck so bad, but they've just individually still managed to score well. Like, yeah, pretty crazy. So yeah, it's wild that he's come into that position, and yeah, he's got 340s now, but two of those games have been sin bin games. So when he's there, he's averaging 54 and a half now and doing a great job. So yeah, he's an interesting one there, mates. And I think just to round out this video, thanks for jumping on. Hopefully everyone does like it and please give your feedback. I'm doing a big change on yeah this week with the content. So let me know what you'd like to see. But Nikki there with the 905, any early thoughts for you considering the I suppose Riley Smith will just assume that he's okay, but other than that, what are you generally thinking with guys like Egan and the like?
yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to think about it. Obviously, Matt, the injuries will be the thing. If Clark and Lucas somehow are okay, then I should be in a pretty good spot for next week. I'll have 13, and that was kind of my plan, was always to
Okay.
have 13 available and then make some decisions around upgrading and what have you. So I could still trade out a Yo and say go a Yo and a Hubner to like a couple of like a Teddy and somebody else, rather than playing a Jenkins or a Tamale and these guys. Elite, or have try and upgrade a bit,
Yeah.
maybe have some looping if available, um, or just maybe wait until we see the first couple of games go. I was like trying to look at what the order of the games are
Yeah.
and try and set up a. I think it didn't look great because Tamale plays the last game, so I know he can't kind of loop there.
Yeah. So
So
doggies,
yeah,
doggy spins
Bulldogs, yeah.
and the
So you
eels
could do
mainly.
some, could do something. You could try and set up something where, say, Jenkins plays in the third game, and then if he goes well, I leave it, and if he doesn't, then I bring in Teddy for the game after. Something like that, and just sort the bench out in a way
Mm.
where you can maybe wait and see. And so you can do it with, say, like Katonga and Iongi and these guys in the Parramatta game as well. Perhaps just um if you have the luxury to be able to kind of do that and um, loop a little bit and try and get the best score out there. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how those injuries play out. But I want to get Teddy in somehow,
Okay.
and then how
Teddy's
I
the
do that is
target.
is probably dependent on the injury news.
Yeah, I suppose when you have you could straight swap pretty comfortably, or even Egan can almost straight swap. Um, yeah. that'll be fun. It'd be a good week to
Mm,
try and have those upside guys because we know that we know that Teddy can go bang, which is
mm,
what you're looking at having with guys like Herbie, guys like
mm,
Tarpany, guys like Clark. Apparently now is a boom
mm.
guy as well.
Yeah.
And the Wagner to
I
ours,
think,
a big win for you
oh,
this week too.
what a try.
Oh,
He's, yeah. I'm glad he's, because I watched him quite a bit um, for the Waratahs over the last couple of years.
okay.
And when the kind of news was, he was coming, they were it's basically a straight swap between him and Suoliti to try and kind of just see who comes out comes out the best.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I'm glad he's getting a run now, like a full run, and obviously he's won that spot um over Dom Young. So yeah, I'm glad to see him flying. And Suoliti broke his jaw, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So he's
Did he?
unfortunately, yeah, and he's in a bit of doubt for the Lions tour, which is one of the reasons why they threw so much money at him was because the Lions are touring Australia this year, so be
Yeah.
a bit of a disaster if he misses that.
Damn. Yeah, the jaws are
Yeah,
not a good one. So yeah,
yeah,
but as you said, there's a bit to come out over the next few days, and yeah, if you do an update everyone, I can pass on the message later in the week anyway. But hopefully it's a positive up week in the end for you,
I
heading
hope
into
so.
next week. And
Yeah,
yeah, thanks for coming on today, mate. I think that's a good little back and forth and recap the week and set everyone up for round 12 and then round 13. It's gonna get weird.
yeah,
It's gonna get fun.
yeah.
So I look forward to that. And yeah, we'll get into my round results and we'll talk through my strategy once I've had a second to look through it all and see where the gaps are with, guys like Nafahu White out and where Lucas is and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that tomorrow. Send a big thanks to everyone for jumping on. Let me know your thoughts on the format, and we'll see you guys in the next one.